Hey everyone, leave it to StreamYard to just mess up the intro video and block my face. You can still see my arms. Apologies for that. Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Politics. My co-host, again, unfortunately could not make it. He got called into work. On that note, starting next week, we're going to have to actually shorten the episodes. We're only going to be airing on Mondays, same time, same channel, but Mondays only. JP and I are simply too busy. Well, everybody knows what happened yesterday in the U.S. Senate. Obviously, the U.S. Senate, because in Canada, it's still a clown show up here, and they're not acknowledging the absolute segregationist policies that they had during COVID. So it's almost not necessary, but it was in the U.S. Congress, and the wonderful Anthony Fauci completely decimated. The wonderful Rand Paul, mea culpa. Wonderful Rand Paul decimated Anthony Fauci, that weasel. We're gonna go right into it. I got a whole bunch of clips queued up. Anybody on Substack? Kirk, I see you there. Good morning from exile. Yeah, it's not exile if you're living a good life on a boat, my friend. Keep it real. Good morning, JT. It's always good to have you here, and all the mainstream media haters. Yes, we're all in this together. On that note, on the note of screw the mainstream media, I wanted to bring this up. Let's start here before we get into all the great things that happened in the Senate yesterday, in the hearing. Why don't we go down memory lane on all the horrible things that happened? This is the infamous Toronto Star newspaper. Toronto, for those of you that don't know, if you're living under a rock, is a city in Canada. Canada is supposed to be a country in the West, but it's basically turned into some dystopian third world shithole. Apologies, I will be swearing a lot because these bastards took 4 years of my life, so I'm a little bit pissed off. Thursday, August 26, 2021, the Dark Ages. If an unvaccinated person catches it from someone who is vaccinated, boo-hoo, too bad. I have no empathy left for the willfully unvaccinated. Let them die. I honestly don't care if they die. I honestly don't care if they die from COVID, not even a little bit. Unvaccinated patients do not deserve ICU beds. This is Canada. This is supposed to be the legacy of the Christian Western tradition. This is supposed to be a rule of law nation. This is the number1 publication in Toronto, and they put this on the front page. I have not heard any apologies. Why are these bastards not going to jail? There's a question. Bill C9, why don't you go after this guy? If anything constitutes hate speech, it's this on the front of the Toronto Star, basically saying, let them die. I can't question the Holocaust. I can't say there are only two genders, but this guy can say, let them die. This is atrocious. Johnny Tight Lips. Everyone tune in 9 p.m. EST tonight for 21 questions live on X Spaces featuring Peyman. Yes. You can ask any questions. If it's an inappropriate question, it's basically a drinking game. If it's an inappropriate question, I have to take a sip. So the more inappropriate questions, the better night Peyman's going to have. Derek Sittler, as a pure-blooded Canadian, I thoroughly enjoyed the show yesterday. It was amazing. And I know exactly, the left is having a meltdown. I'm not even covering it. Rachel Gilmore can go shove it. I don't care. I'm comfortable where I am. I know what happened. I know that they are evil. And I don't need to argue with these people. I don't need to compromise with these people. If they don't value the sanctity of life, I'm not even giving them the time of day. Good morning, Squirrel Nuts. All right, what do we got next? Again, I want to lay the groundwork. Here's a video.
Loved ones so they could hug them safely.
The way through this pandemic is by getting everyone vaccinated.
We've made vaccinations free, safe and convenient.
You guys remember the pandemic of the unvaccinated? That was Joe Biden. People seem to forget how bad things got. They seem to forget how close we were getting to something adjacent to Nazism, like the pandemic of the unvaccinated, the Toronto Star article I put in there. These things, they're not just, one-off things. The society was moving in a direction, and we came so close to being thrown in a concentration camp.
Do you know what that is? That is a 20 euro silver coin issued by the Vatican commemorating the COVID-19 vaccine.
Actually?
You can't call them stupid. You can't call them silly. Yes, they are.
Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo. Rest in peace, Wheezy.
It's astounding. I don't want anyone to go to jail for speech, but Barry Neufeld's getting hit with $750,000 in hate speech. Amy Hamm's getting hit with $95,000 in back legal fees for hate speech. Kathy Drake faces $150,000 for hate speech. Peter Blackwell just got $1.75 million for calling people who are grooming children groomers. Yet this guy is walking free, saying let him die. How is that not hate speech if you go by that rule? Just real quick, let's see what's going on Substack. Debbie Fuller, you got this, Peyman. I'm holding down the fort while my co-host is out there making some money. Howard Garrett, swearing cannot offend me. I worked over 4 years at a steel mill. There's no words you could possibly use that I haven't heard before. We used to have a joke that once we got into the office, we would use the F word like it was a comma. We used to swear like sailors, and we were just network engineers. Kirk Reese, I tried to warn everyone before, during, and after the pandemic for your information. Nobody listened, buddy. Me and you, we tried to get your story out, but nobody wants to listen. Kirk Reese, careful, you'll get arrested for speaking out against politicians. You can get arrested for anything these days. No. Kirk Reese, I did. Debbie Fuller says I did too. She tried to get the word out. Here we go. They lied to Trump, then created January 6th to steal agenda. The lying to Trump part, a lot of people won't agree with you. I'm not going to voice my opinion, but a lot of people say that Trump was in it. Again, not voicing my opinion, but I definitely January 6th, I think, was manufactured at this point. Like it was a coup. It was essentially a coup. All right, the last one down memory lane is the one and only Mr. Charlie Kirk. I think he perfectly captures what they did to us during COVID.
I'm just an idealist to believe that we can...
Hold on, Andrew.
You're not the left. You're not intolerant.
You know where I'm going with this. Yeah. We did not receive any apologies from the ruling class that lied to us repeatedly during COVID. The lockdowns, the efficacy of the vaccine, the mask mandates, school closures, and we just act as if it didn't happen. And I don't think the American ruling class understands the undermining of their credibility that happened when the entire country had their lives thwarted, especially young people. We're just supposed to reopen the country and be like, well, why don't you trust us anymore? Well, it's because the Hunter Biden laptops, Russian disinformation, 50 intel operations signed this letter. And I'm making a good point here because there was no contrition.
That's just one example.
And again, I could go one after the other.
I would say that actually COVID, to me, I mean, this is actually generational, is actually very much like the 2008 crisis in a way. Okay, that spawned Occupy Wall Street. This has sort of spawned a different sort of political
Do you want to do Russia collusion? Do you want to do the laptop? Do you want to do, I mean, take your pick on the way things are covered in this country.
All I'm suggesting, though, is this full-on, constant relitigation of what took place in the past as opposed to a clear-eyed view of what's
constant relitigation. This leftist piece of garbage. He's the same kind of trash that's probably out there right now saying, well, COVID's in the rearview mirror. Why are we dragging this poor, innocent old man who, by the way, received the pardon? Why are we dragging him through the mud? This isn't right. We need to look forward. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not how justice works. You can't just say, well, the crime was committed yesterday and today is today, so let's move on.
Happening now.
I would just interject respectfully that it's not just First of all, no one was held accountable largely for what happened.
That's why I said it's sort of like 2008, because a lot of people thought all those bankers were supposed to go to jail.
Well, and honestly, there should have been. I think there should have been some administration of justice. That's a separate issue. I was young at the time. I can only speak about what we're living through now. And a lot of the COVID injustices we are still seeing today with younger people and their ability to own homes, with the inflation that President Trump is trying to fix that was inherited by Joe Biden. So what I'm getting at, and I know a lot of the C-suite of America watches this program, they might understand where is this populist fervor coming from, is that you have missed the mark on so many of the core proclamations you made to the American people.
Explain to me.
All right. Clown World, what did I miss? What happened to JP? JP, he's off at work. He got called into work, so he couldn't make it. Starting next week, him and I, we just don't have time to do 4 episodes a week. We're going to switch over to Mondays only. So he will be back, but he got called into work 2 days in a row. A man's got to earn a living. Squirrel nuts, don't believe your lying eyes that see and ears that hear their lies. They're all lying. If it goes against the narrative, it's a lie. Andre, thanks for the repost. I kind of lost my train of thought, but you know, I think this Charlie Kirk is right on the money. Like, we never got an apology. This is what I love about Americans. They're going in the right direction. I'm not even getting into the Trump derangement syndrome. I can't deal with that right now. I'm just too frustrated. The country, the people are moving it in the right direction. They're moving it in the direction of a republic. They're moving it in the direction of common sense. And meanwhile, in Canada, we're just like elbows up, moving it in the complete opposite direction. How many more years do we have to go before Canadians wake up, grow a spine, grow a mind, and we have figures like this out there talking about this, speaking to the issue of what happened to us during COVID? I mean, it was a Canada. It was a concentration camp for 4 years, and we're not allowed to talk about it. It's a conspiracy theory. I mean, screw anyone in Canada that says that to us. How could you possibly go to a victim and try to shame them? Tell me what's Christian about that. Tell me what's good about our culture here in Canada. But sorry about that. I got off track there. Anything on Substack? Debbie Fuller. Kirk would have made an excellent president. Yeah, that was the. I mean, he kind of had that JFK vibe to him. He looked presidential. He was very well spoken. Near the end, he was much more moderate and more compassionate. He was courageous. He had his finger on the pulse of the country. All right, now let's get to the hearings. Susan US says your country is broken. Absolutely, and it's broken in the worst way possible with mass formation psychosis. So if an American points out to a Canadian that the country is broken, Canadians start attacking the Americans, start coming up with all sorts of, you know, random illogical reasons why Canada is not broken. And it's just, it's a doubling down. It's a national doubling down. All right, here's Hawley. Let's see what he's got to say.
Is honesty like taking the fifth, huh, Doc? Let's try something. What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel.
This guy's getting exactly what he deserves for what he did. If we can't get justice because of that god-awful pardon, the only alternative left is revenge. Like this son of a bitch caused so much harm, caused so much death, and he was so arrogant doing it at the time. I am the science. They thought he could get away with it. And now the people are turning their attention on the only leverage we have right now is attacking this guy and, you know, shaking the tree and seeing what falls out.
I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color's the carpet in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment because you've been pardoned, as you very well know. As the Supreme Court has been clear for a century and more, Brown versus Walker, 1896, when he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyers sitting behind you now shifting nervously in their chairs. They know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt. Contempt for this body and contempt for the American people. But I think I know why you're doing it. It's because you don't want to answer questions. It's because you did all kinds of terrible.
If the Trump administration is smart, and it's not, they'll link their efforts with what they're hinting at here, and Rand Paul will hint at later, is the contempt of Congress. Like, he got pardoned, but not for this contempt of Congress. You could arrest him for that.
Well, things. It's because during the pandemic, you got rich, didn't you? You got rich while people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich. And not only were you doing that, you were using federal employees with taxpayer money to apply for and solicit cash prizes for you personally. Cash prizes totaling over $1 million. You did all of that during the pandemic, didn't you? That's a question.
Close your eyes and imagine a fantasy world where some MP in Parliament does the same thing to Theresa Tam or Bonnie Henry or that Hinshaw lady. Why do we not have strong politicians like that in Canada? You know, why? Somebody explain that to me.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What a loser. Laureen, maybe the reason there has not been an apology is because the wrongs of COVID were intentional. You're right. They are intentional. My point is the Holocaust was intentional. All the Nazi war crimes were intentional. That didn't prevent the Nuremberg trials. The people should be getting really angry. And if anything, they should get more angry and say, they did this to us on purpose. This wasn't just incompetence. It's just to have such a stranglehold on the messaging here. And it's such a liberal country, you know, deference to authority. That's sort of the remnants of a colonial era, I guess. Play Bernie Moreno. He was right on. All right, Susan, ask and ye shall receive. We're going to skip ahead. Let's play this.
Owners that lost their business, shattered their lives, and they'll never recover. Will you apologize to the moms who had to force their infant children, 2, 3, 4-year-olds, to put masks on, and what that did and how that traumatized those kids? To the family members of the people who died because they took your advice and not only got the first vaccine, but the 5, 6 other boosters that they did not need. It was about 6 years ago today that I decided I'm going to give up my businesses, sell them all, run for office, run for the United States Senate. Here I am sitting in front of you 6 years later saying, who the fuck do you think you were for doing that?
There we go, right there. That's the American dream. You know, any man can run for office and swear it at Fauci in an official hearing.
It is a total disgrace what you did to this country. And if my Democrat colleagues are standing there defending you, I hope the voters of the United States of America watch the clips of every one of you doting on a guy who was more interested in being a celebrity than saving American people.
I think the Democrats are in a very bad position. In addition to not having really funding coming up into the midterms and having these Democrat Socialists of America scaring people to death, they're on the wrong side of history. Like, why are you defending this base literal war criminal, this monster, this little gremlin? Why would you do that? Why would you go partisan? Like, there are so many people that are vaccine injured that are leftist lunatic losers. They're voters. I mean, at least you'd want to pick them up. But they back themselves into a corner because anything Trump does, orange man bad. So now they got to support this guy Fauci. I think this is a huge mistake. If the Trump administration plays their cards right, and again, they seem to mess up every time, they could link their efforts for campaigning for the midterms with this, arrest Fauci for contempt of Congress, and I don't know, maybe you'll pick up some seats.
I will make it my mission to make certain that every single one of those Democrats who did that will see that clip over and over and over again. Because there is no defense of what you did. You may have had a 50-plus year legacy of public service, but it ends in total and complete disgrace. So let me ask you an opportunity to answer one question. Will you apologize, just apologize, to the people who you harmed through your actions? Will you say, do you have the dignity to just say you're sorry?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
That's just glorious. You know that they knew that they probably had a powwow before this, and they're like, "Listen, this guy's going to plead the fifth. Let's rearrange our entire strategy to make him look like a complete moron." Usually, when they plead the fifth, it's like it's more official setting. So I don't know. You get like John Brennan in, and it's like an official congressional hearing, and nobody can get all emotional. You know, sure, 50,000 children were killed over there in that world, but you know, national security. I can't comment either way, one way or the other. Or it's like a Madeleine Albright who says that, you know, was it 1 million dead babies is a good price to pay, and they get away with it. But this really does feel like progress. This feels like 4, 5, 6 years of frustration built up, and people are finally saying we gotta go in a different direction. Like, we can't just say national security. The people, this is a pressure cooker. Let me just quickly go over to Substack. I always like to give preferential treatment. Here we go. Debbie Fuller about Kirk Reese. Kirk would have made an excellent president. Yeah, he probably would have fired a whole bunch of people that harmed the whistleblowers. Kirk Reese 2028. There we go. Howard Garrett. Maybe the elbows up crowd will wake up if the dollar crashes out and it affects their wealth. I'm gonna address that with something Derek Sittler said. The unfortunate thing is that to find a path of repair, we must convince the parasitic class to give up their way of life. Now, I'm going to put some words in Derek's mouth, and to me, parasitic class is the bureaucratic class, the people that suckle off the teeth of government. And it reminds me of the Soviet Union. So after the Soviet Union crashed, the people would say, you know, these people that were middle class, all of a sudden they have to like pawn their belongings on the side of the road, or women had to go into prostitution, you know, and they're alluding to the breakdown of cohesion in the Soviet Union. Same thing's going to happen in Canada. Like if the dollar crashes, if the government crashes, that they can't afford to pay these people. I mean, this won't happen because I think they'll go after the hardworking middle class first. But if it did happen, all of those bureaucrats, they'd be out on the street, you know, prostituting themselves or selling their belongings. And then, you know, somebody would come along and say, this isn't right. Well, you were a parasite. Like, what do you want me to say? You were the reason that Canada is what it is now. Debbie Fuller, I watched Josh Hawley question that man over and over again. He was so good. He is so good. Josh Hawley for president, honestly. Susan US, Josh Hawley was awesome. Yeah. Yeah, he's a good speaker, and he attacked him really well. But his question about what color is your tie is a good one. Here's another one from I forget this guy's name, who said, "Who the F do you think you are?" This is going into the elevator.
Senator Moreno, why do you suspect Fauci's pleading the fifth after testifying 200+ times before?
Because he's a piece of shit.
Thank you.
Why can't they say that about Bonnie Henry or Theresa Tam? She's a piece of shit. She is. Why do we not have this in Canada yet? That's what I want to know. Why do we have anti-hate going around calling every single white person a racist white supremacist while we should be attacking Bonnie Henry and Theresa Tam? What is this? Susan US. Yep. Brown versus Walker, 1896 Supreme Court decision. He was already pardoned. He was to answer questions. Another hearing next week. He will be held in contempt. I hope if they hold him in contempt, I want to see the same treatment they gave to Steve Bannon. Put him in handcuffs, shackle his feet, and, you know, do a perp walk. I'm sick and tired of the Republicans playing badminton while the Democrats play full contact football. Like you have to win ugly. I'm sorry, you can't just lose nobly. Tit for tat. Hold these people in contempt of Congress, especially this guy. Substack. Howard Garrett. Oh man, maybe I can get a BMW cheap. I don't follow. Howard Garrett. I'm already kind of shocked that some of them aren't jumping out windows with their $1 million homes, dropping hundreds of thousands in value. Oh, you're talking about the bureaucrats. Yeah, get a BMW on the cheap. It's horrific what's happening in Canada, but I don't want to get sidetracked. All right, let's see what else we got in terms of videos. We went the Holly one. Here is another. I think this is a same video, same Moreno, whatever, but this is a different angle.
In the audience and stand up if during the time of the COVID pandemic, you were called a racist for calling the virus a Wuhan virus or the China virus. If you thought the 6-foot rule was total crap, if you thought the vaccine wasn't something that you should take, if you thought it was outrageous the way the mask policy was rolled out, if you were fired from your job for not taking that vaccine, including members of the military, if you thought closing schools was catastrophically stupid, and that you thought that during these times saying these things made you somehow a lesser human being.
With the real vaccine injured, please stand up.
Dr. Fauci, can you just turn around and look at the people behind you?
This was a fantastic idea. Like just force him to look around at the victims that he caused, and he just couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. He at the time, I'm sure it was good advice. Plead the fifth. Backfired horrifically.
You're not willing to do that? That's not a question. It's not a question. To your lawyers, not a question. It's a request. All you have to do is look up from your lawyers and look at the people who were absolutely shamed for saying what we know now to be the truth. You can't even look at them?
Man, I wish we had somebody like this guy in Canada. God, I wish we did. Eric Sittler, contempt charge would bolster civil lawsuit for millions, aka the way they went after Bannon. I didn't think of that. Anyway, it's still pretty good to see him in handcuffs. Clown World, I haven't wasted 1 second of my time watching that circus. Nothing will happen as usual. This is different, Clown World. This is different. Like it's just watching Fauci suffer, struggle, watching the pain behind his eyes. He's finally like feeling what he did to other people. And even if he doesn't go into a jail cell, just knowing that he's being humiliated in front of the nation, that's at least some semblance of justice. It's some reward for what we were forced to go through because of this guy and his gain of function research. Andre Malosh, Trump, by not questioning the presidential pardon, is acting like Pontius Pilate whenever he pleases. They are all complicit and must pay for their crime. Vengeance is coming. Vengeance might be coming. I know that Trump, he said that he's not going to, I think he's not going to question the pardon of Fauci. Like it's going to be very difficult to undo. But you never know Trump. He just changes his mind depending on the day of the week. Squirrel Nuts, anyone in an upper position in Canada seems to be protected and some sort of royalty. Yeah, we're run like a royalty here. You are right. Alice Not Woke, come on, stay positive. These snakes are getting exposed. I think that's for somebody else. Maybe that was for Clown World. Susan US, it's the American way. Yeah, I love it. Like Americans, they're more politically engaged, more politically involved. They know that government is by the people, for the people. I know it's been hijacked. I don't have any illusions, but they still have a more robust political system here. In Canada, it's not the same thing. Like they rig elections, they parachute candidates in. There's no primaries really. You can't really make change from the political party from the inside out. No one's really interested anyway. And you know, I'm criticizing the parties. I'm criticizing the MPs. What I'm really doing is criticizing the Canadian people. The Canadian people don't give a damn about the victims of COVID. They don't want to hear about it. They want to, you know, they call Vancouver the land of the lotus eaters. Like they just want to have fun, maybe have some vino, go to their kids' I don't know, hockey game. They don't care about any of this stuff, which is why the politics is a reflection of that. Squirrel Nuts, they are pushing their agenda. Demo rats are a part of the worldwide cult. Yeah, I don't like the Democrats, and I understand the argument that there's a lot of bad ones in the Republican Party, like the neocons. But at least the people in here, I applaud them for what they did yesterday. Clown World, getting exposed doesn't hold them accountable. Nothing will happen. You might be right, but for now, I'm taking this one as a win. Let's see if there's anything on Substack. There's a lot in here. Where did we leave off? It was all total crap. They put kids in plastic bubbles and painted circles in parks. It was insane. It was all the bureaucratic class. The way that what they do with building codes, and every time you want to like paint your deck, you got to get an inspection or some nonsense. They tried to do that with life, and we tried to push back, and the Canadians were just so brainwashed that they fell for it. My friend told a story yesterday. Jason James and I, we were talking, and he told me a story. Him and his family, they're not vaccinated. Vancouver, they go to a restaurant. They won't let him eat inside. So they get the food to go. They go across the street. They sitting on a picnic bench, eating their food with him, his wife, and his two kids. And it starts raining, and he's out there in the rain. He's feeling shame. Him and his kids are outside because they're not good enough. They're not clean enough to eat inside. And he looks inside, and everyone's just standing there looking out the window at him. And he said he felt like a zoo animal. And he that night, him and his wife's like, we're getting the hell out of Vancouver, and we're never ever coming back to this piece of garbage province. And they're living in Alberta now. Howard Garrett, Andre, excellent analogy from Debbie Fuller. I think that's the Pontius Pilate one. Howard Garrett, good old Doug Ford made a ton of cash with his sticker company, making up arrows and footprints and to stand in lines. Hey, what's the point of going in government if you can't make a couple of $1 million? Kirk Reese, American podcasters are starting to share the Canadian stories since Canadians won't. I agree with you, man. I try to share your story. Nobody will have you on. And you know what? I don't blame you for giving up on Canadians. Go the American route. Howard Garrett, Anita Anand's husband was on the board of Life Labs that received hundreds of millions in government COVID testing contracts. It's a cesspool. It's an absolute cesspool. I say it's not criminality. It's not even a crime scene. It's an ongoing criminal act. It's like a shootout that's still going on. Man, there's so many comments. I got a couple more videos to get to. Susan US, it's the liberal judges that are hurting Trump's agenda. Temp. Probably, but with everything that's on my plate, I don't have time to follow up on it. And Robert Barnes, I don't know what's going on with him. He's starting to piss me off. He used to be my go-to guy for figuring out what's going on in the US, and I don't know what's going on with him. Alice Not Woke, I'm still praying it will. Maybe I'm naive. Susan, Trump will prevail. We Americans will not give the Congress back to these corrupt elites. You know, after the 2020 election, I told myself hope is not a strategy. So I'm going to wait and see what happens. And ultimately, I'm not involved at all with this the campaign in the U.S. So it's up to the people, the voters, the Americans, and the parties. Squirrel Nuts, Susan, you need to get the brainwashing to flipping from being Democrats. Somebody doesn't like Democrats, I see. Derek Sittler, just waiting for the tsunami of lawsuits to come down. Then the left will have to take notice. There was a tsunami of lawsuits coming down with the damages associated with irreversible gender reassignment surgeries. That was like a year and a half ago, and I don't know what's going on with that. I'm surprised the Trump administration didn't make that like one of their pillars of their campaign policy to protect parents and children. Alice Not Woke, we have anti-hate groups in Canada because they know people are losing faith in the government. They're desperate. Yes, yeah. I should do an episode on anti-hate, actually. Squirrel Nuts, they'll keep sending money to other countries for stupid things, even though your country is no longer better than the country receiving money. It's almost like they want to normalize things to bring the West down to the level of the global South. I'm going to skip a couple. Alice Not Woke, one day they won't be able to walk down the street without being canceled. It's already happening. Maybe, but I mean, they're bringing in hate speech laws. It's getting terrifying. You can't... if you watch the beginning of the episode, I said, like, why are the editors of the Toronto Star not going to jail for hate speech? But if I say there's only two genders, I go to jail for hate speech. This is a dictatorship. It's a totalitarian government, tyrannical government. Okay, Clown World. I'm gonna stop there. I'll get to your question one. Let's play another video. Let's see what this one is.
Lengths. Watch.
In the red folder on your table is a copy of Section 192 of Title II of the U.S. Code. Your counsel has been provided a copy as well. That section makes it a crime for a witness appearing under subpoena to refuse to answer any questions pertinent to the question under inquiry. Do you have that in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Let the record record that the witness has refused to answer whether there's a folder in front of him based on his Fifth Amendment right.
I mean, you could hear the audible laughter and the frustration from Republican senators there who were seeking to be the voice of their voters, looking for any tiny modicum of responsibility to be taken by this man.
Yeah, I think besides showing that, because Megyn Kelly is super, super hot, the reason I wanted to show that is because that could be one way of getting Fauci under a contempt of Congress. Clown World, Peyman, you constantly blackpill on Canadians on practically every show. Aren't you still living in the United States of Israel? I think you mean the United States of America. I'm still in Florida, but I'm just fed up with Canadians. Like, when are we going to get an apology? I haven't had any friends apologize to me. I haven't had any of them wake up. Sure, they're a little bit upset that the price of their latte is going up, and maybe they can't afford a home, but come on, man, like, wake up. That's why I'm done. Well, I'm not angry with you, by the way. I'm just done treating Canadians with kid gloves. And I mentioned this on our podcast yesterday with Jason. I said our culture sucks. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you have a snitch culture, that's not good. This is like Eastern Europe, East Germany, sorry. Just admit that we have a broken culture and we want to fix it. I want to see more Canadians turn into Americans and say, this is ridiculous. We're created in the image of God, not the image of the Liberal Party of Canada. And I'm not really backing down on that anymore. At first I wanted to be politically correct and take people's feelings into considerations. Maybe I'm hurting people when I say Canada. It's I don't like the direction it's going in, but no, I'm just tired. After 4 years of them treating me like a leper, and them, I mean the people, and then turning around and voting for the same Liberal Party, I'm just done. Clownworld, you paint all Canadians with the same brush while you're still living in the States. I don't know. It's my opinion. You don't have to agree with it, but I'm sick and tired of what I saw in Vancouver and West Vancouver and North Vancouver and across all different types of people, not just Canadians, but the Iranian community. I just found they were all brainwashed. Alice not woke. Laugh. Andre Marloche again having a good laugh. RB Ham. Trumpenstein just said yesterday that he will respect Biden's pardon of the serial killer Fauci. President Operation Warp Speed has spoken, and you think this Zionist-owned clown is on your side? RB, like, I find it amazing that everybody is so quick to attack Trump, and I have to go out of my way to, I have to always start out and say, I don't, I'm not supporting Trump. Trump's not God. Trump's made mistakes. I never hear people say that on the other side and say, I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. But yesterday was a win. I thought it was a good thing. And I don't know. I just saw this yesterday. I don't know why Trump said that he's not going to go after the pardon. But assuming that he did, and he said, we're going to go and reverse that pardon, it would have been the same thing. Donald Trump is trying to undo the U.S. Constitution. The Constitution is clear. You have the power to pardon. So I don't know. I mean, I get it. People reflexively hate Trump, and they try to find reasons to hate Trump. But I don't know what you want me to say, man. I'm getting to the point where if anybody starts talking, I just can't talk about Trump anymore. People hate. I said to JP, it's like a woman that finds that her husband has been unfaithful to her, and now nothing he says, if he says water is wet, she'll say no, it's not, it's dry. So I just move on. I'm in Florida, the free state. Yeah, Florida's not as free as I thought it would be, actually, to be honest. Squirrel nuts, it's the same everywhere here and talk. Canada needs radio free Canada. Wasn't that a CIA front? Brainwash the globe. Florida is a hotbed of podcasters, it seems. Most of the new right in America is moving to Florida. It's just it's one of the many red states, but it's along with Texas, it's one of the only two that's got the infrastructure. Canadians have been trained to self-loathe others over having a conservative bent. Yeah. Canada only wants liberal creators, apparently. Canada has in the US they have a two-party system, and it's broken. I get it. But behind the two-party system, you have two media apparatus, and it's, I don't know, the Overton window. At least it stays where it is. And in Canada, we have a one-party system with one media behind that party, and they can drift as far left as they want. Let's see what Ron Johnson has to say. I think it's Ron Johnson.
Based on your lack of testimony here today, based quite honestly on our investigation into the cover-up of safety signals and injection injuries, we have issued letters to a number of former FDA officials to come in for transcribed interviews. You will be getting a letter today asking for a volunteer transcribed interview. So I'd be asking, will you comply, or will I have to subpoena you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Expect a subpoena. Thank you.
Senator Scott.
Yeah, there's probably another subpoena coming in. Let's see what's going on Substack. Kirk Reese, Bonnie Henry promoted her shoe line during COVID. Yeah, sometimes I get nightmares of that woman and her just bizarre choices in shoes. Howard Garrett, it's an orgy of greed and corruption. Yeah, that's a good description of politics. Andre Meloche, most Canadians don't understand that they are wage slaves. You can't reason with them. Reason has been destroyed in favor of emotion. The economic depression will serve as a lesson to those who refuse to see. You know, who was it? Maybe I was with JP. I was saying, Andre, you and I, we've been on this sort of journey from 2020 of understanding. You're a deep philosopher, but even you will admit that what you know now you didn't even know in 2020. So in a way, you and I were children in 2020, and you move along this path and you learn things and you understand things. So the first thing I understood is that the political parties, they're just means of control. Same thing with the media. So the media and the political parties, they're two big means by which the powers that be, the state, interested parties, control elections, control thoughts and minds and hearts of the Canadians. You learn it, you try to explain it to people, they don't want to listen. Eventually you move on. Like I don't even bring that up anymore. Same thing with this concept of wage slave. People were sovereign. They were on their own land. They didn't have to pay much taxes. You had the family unit. The father was the provider, the mother was the caretaker, and the purpose of life was to, make sure that you prepare your children for when they move and they want to start their own family. And then at some point in the 60s, you start moving away from that model to this, what would you call it, wage slave model. And I say the urban centers, but basically you're no longer working for yourself. You're no longer using your own labor. You're exchanging your labor for a salary. And boom, the moment you do that, the government comes in and they take a cut. And it's just gotten a bit worse and worse and worse. But again, I say that, I said that at first, but it gets to a point where people, they just want to hate Muslims, or I don't know, they want to hate trans, or they want to hate the First Nations. And if I keep bringing that up, I'm just pissing people off. They don't want to listen. So I agree with you, but the reality is, if you want to make change, you have to get people on board. And if you want to get people on board, you got to tell them what they want to hear, which in political terms equates to lying to them. That's how you win voters over. Susan, U.S. Trump is not a king. He can't do anything about a pardon. Yes, it exposed the diary and the emails to show the American people. I'm trying to take a nuanced, balanced position because so many people have Trump derangement syndrome. So I try not to point out when he's done right things, because that just irritates people. But then, I don't know, man, it's a bad scene. Like so many people feel betrayed by Trump because of what happened in Iran and this whole Israel Zionist thing, that I find I can't talk to people. And I try to, it's not the right thing to do, but I just try not to talk about it. Johnny Tightlips. Another reminder to catch Peyman tonight, 9 p.m. EST on 21 Questions live here on X. Link in the replies. Thank you, JT. Somebody reached out to me yesterday. It's an interesting format. I think they ask me a question, or maybe the audience asks a question. It could be any question, and if I refuse to answer, I have to take a drink. So I might just by choice, and like if they ask me what color is my tie, I'll plead the fifth just so I can take a sip of my drink. Laureen, Fauci's lawyers are the real parasite scum and should be held as accessories to the crime. I actually had a video clip of the lawyer who interrupted the proceedings. I didn't load it up this time, but Rand Paul kicked him out. That was pretty good. That was pretty cool. But it wasn't even the fact that he kicked out the lawyer. The lawyer doesn't care. He's paid hourly. It's the look on Fauci's face when he's like, God damn it. Why did I do this? All I wanted to do was, kill a couple million people and make some money on the side. I did not want to become hauled in front of a hearing and humiliated nationally. Who's hosting the show? The 21 thing. I don't know. JT, if you can put the handle of the person for X. I don't have it with me right now. Kirk Reese, you'll do fine. Drink fake shots. What's the point? Kirk Reese, Anita Anand, Rachel Blaney, Georgina Jolibu, all blocked me for trying to expose corruption. That's all they ever do, is they don't want to get to the bottom of these things. You're an inconvenience as far as they're concerned. They just want to win elections. Silverbug, the PrEP Act gives everyone immunity for the vaccine rollout. Yeah, that's not what I wanted to hear, but yeah, it's even worse in Canada because the Parliament is supreme, so they can do no wrong. Period. We don't even have the same constitutional amendments that, in theory, the Americans have. All right, what do we got? We got another video right here.
It's right here. There was a website that was tracking the random controlled studies. Here they are, showing 60, 70% efficacy of ivermectin. The same day you say there's no evidence, there was all kinds of evidence. Loved ones had to go to hospitals, had to sue hospitals. Just, would you try it? So I would want to know, to what extent were you involved in sabotaging hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and did you do that because you knew the only way you get an emergency use authorization for these drugs, these experimental gene therapy, was if there was no effective treatment, you couldn't get the emergency use authorization. So is that why you helped sabotage these cheap generic drugs in favor of remdesivir, which, by the way, nurses, are you aware of the fact that nurses called it run, death is near?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment.
The reason I loaded that video, I think it's important. This is a narrative that we kept saying, and everybody called us conspiracy theorists, that they had to discredit ivermectin in order to be able to qualify for emergency use authorization. Because if there's another drug that exists that's, and it happens to be cheap, then you can't do the emergency use authorization. In Canada, we call it the interim order. We did it a different way, and nobody listened to us. And Ron Johnson finally mentioned it. I mean, he's been fighting this fight for a long time, but he mentioned it in the hearing to Fauci. And I know Fauci didn't answer, but it makes me feel good knowing that he had to sit there and he had to listen to that for what he's done. Again, it's not justice, but it's something approaching justice. Clown world. Listening to Peyman twice in the same day, is that what you're suggesting, Johnny? Yeah, it's not an ideal thing to do, but if you guys could go ahead and listen, who knows, maybe you could ask me a question. Susan US, Sylvie, are you an elbows up type of gal? Johnny Tightlips, click the link in the replies to follow that handle. Laureen, if the vaccine didn't and couldn't provide immunity, then why should these responsible for that lie be given immunity? That's almost poetic. Yeah. I don't have an answer for you, Laureen. I really don't. Derek Sittler, maybe the RCMP will finally find the killers behind Barry and Honey Sherman executions in Canada now. Those were the two. I remember they were somehow linked to some pharmaceutical company, and they were found murdered. That's in the rearview mirror, just like the Winnipeg lab is in the rearview mirror, just like the treasonous MPs are in the rearview mirror. It seems everything is just getting covered up in Canada. How about this one? Maybe the RCMP will go after the Ottawa police for persecuting Helen Gruss for trying to do her job and figure out what led to the deaths of those infants. How about that? I mean, they're doing this in the US right now. Meanwhile, in Canada, we're going the opposite way. We're still denying, forget giving an apology to Helen Gruss. They're still persecuting her. I think Johnny Tightlips put a link in the replies, but I don't see the link. JT, maybe they filter links on X or something. Let's see. What we watched that one, didn't we? Is that it? I got no more videos. We went through all the videos. Let's see what we got on Substack. We only got 10 minutes to go. Howard Garrett, ivermectin is horse goo. It's horse goo. That was a big scandal on the Joe Rogan show. Joe Rogan is a liberal. He's not a conservative, but he had Sanjay Gupta of CNN on, and he called him out for it. He's like, "Why would you call it horse tranquilizer? Ivermectin. It's not just for horses." And Gupta didn't know what to say. He was under pressure, so he caved. He's like, "Oh yeah, totally, I agree. It was wrong what CNN did." And then afterwards, he goes on CNN and they did a hit piece on Joe Rogan. Sometimes people forget how bad things got the last 4 or 5, 6 years. It was very dark times, and it's almost like people. It's like they've undergone trauma, and it's easier for them to forget it. Silverbug, the PrEP Act was enacted in 2005 by George W. Bush, justified by the fake anthrax threat. I don't remember the PrEP Act. I mean, I remember the Patriot Act. RFK Jr. has spoken to this. So there was 2 holdouts of the Patriot Act. They're senators. And those were exactly and only the 2 that received the anthrax files. And they traced the anthrax back, and I think it went to an FBI lab, and then it just died. Like, it just died. Like, try to think about that. JFK was assassinated in what, 63? That is 63, 64 years ago. But the Patriot Act, that was 2001 with the anthrax thing. That was only 25 years ago now, I guess. But the government sent a deadly pathogen, deadly chemical, to 2 senators to try to intimidate them into passing the Patriot Act. And we're still living with the consequences of that. I remember at the same time when I was in university, in York University, somebody thought it would be funny to take some baking powder and put it in a bag in front of his buddy's door, and they wrote anthrax on it. Unfortunately for him, the janitor found it. They called the police, and like the CDC showed up, and they actually kicked the kid out of school. I mean, it could have been a great prank, but it didn't go. It backfired. Derek Sittler, this should be cause for dismissal of cases against Litch, Barber, Tamara Litch, Chris Barber. It should be, but our government, they won't back down unless the people stand up, and the people are just not standing up. It's very frustrating. And you know what? We're also very disorganized on the right. Every time something happens, instead of unifying with with one front towards the government, we start fracturing. Look what happened with the ostrich farm. Oh, they had some shady business practices in the 90s. Oh, there's some mRNA technology. Oh, they lied about why they're pissed off, and they're just in it for the money. Meanwhile, the government just rolls in with the RCMP and shreds property rights, and here we are. Like, there's something about the fact that we're more intellectual, we're more academic, we're more open-minded on the right, and we don't want to have that hive mentality that the left has. So we question everything. The problem is, like, you can't question things in a war. If the enemy is firing on you, you can't just turn around and be like, well, do I really trust my general? Is our country really doing the right thing? Are we really that different from these other people on the other side? What's the purposes? You start doing that, you're going to lose the war. The other guys, they're just zombies and they're following orders. Laureen, ketamine is a horse tranquilizer and people willingly accept it. Yeah, ketamine is a hardcore drug though, isn't it? PTSD is real. Here we go. Johnny Tightlips, follow this handle on X at 21_questions_X. You can't get enough Peyman, can you, clown world? No, I'm sure people are all Peymaned out. I don't really have the same spring in my step that I had during the elections, but maybe that's not just unique to me. Howard Garrett, they actually colored Rogan's skin green on TV when he was talking about taking ivermectin. Yeah, I've forgotten about that. You're right. Yeah. That was during the Biden administration. Things got really out of control. Like after 2016, I think it's because the people had had enough with globalism, so they brought Trump in. It's more of a populist thing, and they weren't expecting that, and they overreacted. And then 2020, after the stolen elections, that was even a bigger overreaction. And I think that's what that was. The 2020 to 2024. It was just like. It was an overreaction. They figured, let's double down and let's go back to globalism, but the people are tired of that. Exposing corrupt education. Thank you for joining. So we went through all the videos. Let me remove one. I can only queue up 10. Let me see if there's any other videos that we could bring up to end on. With the real vaccine, piece of garbage, make money intro. Let's bring up the lawyer. Here's one where it shows the face, Anthony Fauci's expression as his lawyer is being kicked out. It's got that face like of holy crap, man. He's questioning the decisions that he's made in his life. Here at Politics with Peyman and JP, we always come prepared. Somebody help me out in the questions, please. I'm dying here. I got a piece of garbage hard drive too. It's got to warm up before the folders load. All right, let's hope it's the right video. Let's see. Here we go.
Ed, sit quietly. You are not recognized. Another word and you're gone. In fact, the attorney was told not to sit at the table, and he's not obeying that recommendation. There's a row behind you, sir. That's where you were told to sit, and you're not. And so, look, this is the way Anthony Fauci wants to be remembered, for a lawyer not listening to the rules. That's the way you want to be remembered, and that's what you're going to do. You are not recognized, sir. Security, please remove him from the room.
Why wouldn't he just shut up?
Let the record state that Dr. Fauci will still have the advice of the other half a dozen attorneys that he brought along today.
He brought 6 lawyers just to tell him, plead the fifth. No, that was pretty good. Just the look on Anthony Fauci's face. Like I know, like you're not supposed to seek revenge. I understand if you go looking for revenge, dig 2 graves. Revenge is a dish best served cold. They pardoned the guy. Like there is a process through the justice system, and they pardoned him. And like, what do you expect? Like, this is not, this isn't like they're throwing tomatoes at him in public. They brought him into an actual hearing, and they're asking him questions, and they're doing it. Here's another thing. Usually the Democrats and the Republicans, they start screaming. The Democrats do it more, but the Republicans have gotten in the habit of doing this too, where they ask like stupid loaded questions and they start screaming at him. And the whole purpose of this is basically, it's like a struggle session where they're shouting at the people. But they handled this in a more above board manner. Like they just asked him a question. Granted, they knew that he was going to plead the fifth, so it made it really easy for them. But it's funny in asking the question, they were bouncing off of him in a more professional way what they were trying to say, which is, you're a criminal, you're evil, you should not have done this. Shame on you. You harmed the Canadian people. You have to answer for what you've done. The American people, you have to answer for what you've done. Alice Not Woke, you're doing great. Thank you, Alice. Praise is always welcome. Clown World, I think you misunderstood my reply, Johnny. Johnny, take note. Susan US, are you sure Canada has real conservatives? Let me try to be as objective and polite as possible. Canada, we don't have conservatives the same way America has conservatives. So instead of conservative, if you use the word traditional, like I'm traveling through Florida right now. I mean, I've been here for a couple months, and I made some friends. And when I meet people here, they are, first of all, like they say grace at the dinner table. I find the family unit is not as broken here. I see a lot more, women having children, parents involved, fathers involved in the raising of their kids here. Mind you, it's a small town. Canada, everyone's liberal. It's the family unit is antiquated. Everybody should be able to do anything they want at any time for whatever reason. And if you disagree with that, you're a bigot. Like our conservative party, I don't think they hold any traditional conservative values. So they're called conservative, but they're not really that much different. I think of them as a wing of the Liberal Party. To use words for you, we have a Democrat Party and a Republican Party, but our Republican Party is just like, it's a branch. It's like Fetterman, like Senator Fetterman or whatever, slightly more normal. That's basically what our version of the Republican Party is. And the only reason they exist is they're a pressure release valve. So when people don't like what the government's doing, they can lean on that Republican Party up here to give the appearance that they're doing something, but it never goes anywhere because everyone's liberal and they agree wholeheartedly with the direction of the one single governing party we have up here, our version of the Democrat Party. Anything else on Substack? Debbie Fuller, 6 lawyers. Yeah, I love how they pointed that out. Howard Garrett, yell NGVA lawyer to shut up is the quickest way to get an argument. Yell, and I don't get that. Kirk Reese, off to the whistleblower space with Sue Sproul. Stay awesome, Peyman. Thanks, Kirk. Take care. Good luck with the space. I'm going to be wrapping this up pretty soon. I'm running out of videos. I'm sweating like a hooker at church. If I don't have videos to play, I'm nothing. Alice Not Woke. I think the liberal voice has been amplified to look like these are Canadian values. The majority of Canadians are conservative and have been suppressed. One thing I have to constantly remind myself, I come from a very woke part of British Columbia. So the Lower Mainland, Vancouver, West Vancouver, North Vancouver. Heaven forbid you ever go to Vancouver Island. And I just assume the rest of BC and Canada is like that. And sometimes I have to bite my tongue and remind myself that it's not. So that is true, but it's something that I struggle with because I only know the Canada that I grew up in, which is the Lower Mainland. And it's just one big, massive urban center. Derek Sittler, Vancouver is too diverse coast to coast to ever get a coalition of conservatism to form up, like herding cats. When I ran for the election, I had to go to different West Vancouver, Sunshine Coast, Sea to Sky Highway is a very big riding for the Americans. It's like a congressional district, and I had to go to different parts of that riding, and even within the riding, there's so many differences. It was so diverse. So in West Vancouver, there's a lot of elderly people, and all they cared about was, I don't know, healthcare. You go to one part of the island, and they're all unionized workers. The only thing they care about their pension and increasing their pension. You go to another part, they're like, I don't know, how do I say this politely? They're hippies, they're homesteaders, and they just care about the water table and climate change. You go to Squamish, and they're all like the spillover from downtown Vancouver. They're insanely woke, like they're all feminists and they all hate men, and they just want more hate speech legislation. You go to Whistler. I mean, it's a resort town, but even they're quite left of center. So even within a riding, it's very diverse. But I never went to a single riding where, you know, you had these like knuckle dragging conservative redneck men, or, you know, anybody that supported the traditional family unit. Like that riding was solidly locked down left of center. Peyman, you've been in Florida a lot longer than a couple months. I've been here since October, Clown World. I'm glad you're taking note. Yeah, I'm trying to get a residency down here. I'm just done with Canada. Like my businesses, they've just been wiped out. I tried to make change, nothing could change, and I was just disgusted with what I saw during COVID. So it is what it is. Hey Sylvie, how's the Bill C9 and C22 doing for you? Hey Susan, is there any reason you're trying to start something with me? I don't know what's going on over there. Easy. All right, fine. That's I don't, is your name Susan or is your name Sylvie? Moving on. Howard Garrett should have read tell a lawyer to shut up. Yeah, you should have told him to shut up. Okay, last one. Probably the closest to classic conservative could only be found in rural Canada. You would have to go very, very far north. Like BC is a very big province. So if you go Lillooet, maybe. I was talking to a former CRA agent in actually, no, it wasn't CRA agent. It was the gentleman who made the documentary Canada, The Myth is Canada. Doug Force, I think. He's recently passed. And he said, like, if you move to the more rural areas, there is no woke. The people there are so tough in British Columbia, First Nations and Canadians. The police they cannot go in there and start telling them, you know, there's 52 genders or something. They'd probably just murder them and bury their bodies in the forest. So we do have that culture. It's just the majority of the populations are being packed into the urban centers. All right, that's all she wrote. And hopefully I'll see some of you guys tonight on that space, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Hopefully I won't be too drunk showing up. I'll definitely be drunk leaving it. Take care, guys. Bye.